This video is on why most men are simply no longer even trying with women anymore, even if they still choose to date. It seems if we break it down, everything is a stalemate against what men and women want and are able to provide. For those retards who don't know what a stalemate is, it basically means in the game of chess that the king can't move, nor is it threatened, so the game results in a forced draw and no one wins. The only difference in the real world is that both parties lose in the short term or the long term, with neither men or women winning. Another way to say this is that everything is a double-edged sword, an ideological or personal paradox with cognitive dissonance from the contradictions of the new normal clown world that the NPCs, the simps, the cucks, and the feminist indoctrinated women have mandated upon us with the help of big tech, governments, and the small group of people that own those institutions and print our money that we, for some reason, are never allowed to talk about or name. So here are some of the double-edged swords that are preventing healthy relationships between men and women. These double-edged swords apply to what men want, the cultural landscape or zeitgeist, and what women say they want versus what they reward. So first, let's look at how men can, in theory, benefit from normal monogamous relationships with women, and why the opposing force of those benefits checkmate the man into cognitive dissonance. Women will often market themselves or portray the image that is in direct contrast to who or what they are. Women will act with little to no moral intentions and even intentionally try to hurt men or emotionally and financially ruin them for their own sadistic pleasure, while trying to portray to the world the image that they are caring, empathetic, when in reality, in today's society, most women would sooner feed a stray dog, obviously just to make a TikTok video, than give a poor man $1. If they do give a poor man $1, it's most likely a trap and the coin will probably blow up. We simply could not have the world that we live in today if women actually gave a shit about men to any significant degree. The world that we see around us is a direct result of women being empowered and women having a strong dislike or hatred towards men in general as a normality. Now, before all you butthurt women and simps start calling me an incel in the comments or saying that I just picked the wrong woman or just got unlucky, not that it matters, but I've had a very high number of female partners, both long-term and short-term relationships, and my conclusions are drawn from my life experience as well as what I've actually consumed online. I think that a lot of the men that go around calling dudes incel are really just projecting, because they still idealize women because of the fact that they have no experience with them. They can't fathom that a man could potentially have sex with lots of women, but choose not to because of all of the bullshit that women bring into a man's life. Here's a good example of a dude calling me an incel. I mean, it doesn't take a scientist to figure out that in the wild, I would probably be able to physically dominate him and steal any woman from him that I please. Not that it matters. I don't base men's worth on how many modern slurries they can impregnate and pay child support for the rest of their lives. So let's look at the things that men look for in relationships, things that men want that could benefit men and their lives. So let's look at what women could actually potentially bring to the table for a man. First up, we have the idea that a woman could be a financial partner for a man. versus being a financial liability. So, given women have been able to have DEI quotas forced upon men to be discriminated against in all of the comfortable, high paying jobs, whilst conveniently not doing any construction work or manual labour or any of the dirty jobs, you would assume that maybe now we have equal footing when it comes to our earnings potential, or that women now have more earnings potential than men, that it would lead to more financial freedom for both men and women, particularly if they partnered up together. Obviously, that's not the case. In a man's logical, moral, sane mind, if society had such an arrangement, then men and women would still pair bond, get together, and live together, and use that woman's financial power to split the bills to make the cost of living a little bit easier, given we're going through a housing crisis and hyperinflation and all of that. It would be quite nice to have a partner that would be willing to pay half of my mortgage and half of my electricity bills. But obviously, most women wouldn't be willing to do that. And if they were to do that, I would see it as them just basically becoming a financial liability anyway because of the way the law is set up. So they would basically be entitled to half of my stuff if they lived with me or split the mortgage with me anyway. Given the very, very likely probability that the relationship wouldn't last, the de facto relationship laws would entitle the woman to basically just take whatever the government could find that I have in terms of assets, which is obviously a financial liability in the long term, even if it saves a few $100s every week. Not to mention that if you would actually live with a woman, she'd probably be spending a lot of money on unnecessary trinkets, unnecessary luxury items, wanting to go on holidays, wanting to buy expensive handbags, and all of the other crap that women love to waste money on. Most women today, the minute that you're set up financially and living comfortably within your means, they'll want a bigger house, a nicer car, or some other crap, because they're perfect little consumers that have been indoctrinated into this society very, very well and manipulated by men, obviously, powerful men, the ones that they hate, supposedly. And so, yeah, and furthermore, obviously, with the financial equality that women have now, now they don't want a man that earns $100,000 a year. No, that's not enough. They want to all fight it out for the top 1% of millionaires and then complain that they all get cheated on. So women do not provide any financial support for men in general. They are not worthy financial partners, and they are a financial liability. But what if you're just looking for, say, a life partner? That's kind of what I used to look for when I still had hope. I didn't really ever want to get married or have kids unless I was really wealthy or something. But even then, you're still giving the woman the power to destroy your life. So I've always just kind of had the outlook that I want to find a woman that gets me, that can share some of the burdens of life with me, that gets along with me well, has a sense of humor is very important, and is reasonably attractive. I don't necessarily want a supermodel. But in this paradigm, trying to find a life partner, you more likely find a life destroyer. Literally and figuratively. The woman will probably say she wants a kid just so she can abort the baby and laugh in your face. Like, that's the attitude that a lot of women have these days, unfortunately. So if you're looking for a life partner, a woman that you can enjoy spending time with, you'll be faced with this sick and twisted dynamic that I notice more often than not, definitely not with all of the women that have dated, but a huge percentage of the women you'll find that when you start to build a good chemistry with them, when you're laughing and enjoying spending time with them, they will start to deliberately provoke you because they genuinely cannot stand seeing men in a good mood. It really pisses them off. So what they'll do is they'll play these stupid push and pull games. They will deliberately try to get you mad so that they can then play the victim. Basically, what I have concluded it is that women get very jealous of men because men like to be happy and make jokes, and women aren't very good at being happy or making jokes. So it comes from like this deep jealousy that they have when they see like a smart, semi-successful, reasonably attractive guy enjoying life, enjoying their presence without being a complete simp and, providing for them and bending over backwards for them. So they're constantly in this dynamic where they want connection, they want to feel closeness, and as soon as you give that to them, they will just start to try and disrupt your emotional state now that you've given some of your emotions to them. They'll just try and F with your head. Furthermore, a lot of women just really aren't that interesting when it comes to being a life partner. They are very superficial. All they care about is material stuff. They'll just be constantly obsessed with whatever goy slop is coming through Netflix at the given time. They will just follow social trends. They very rarely have any hobbies at all. They're very rarely interested in anything other than their own immediate material interests and how they are perceived socially. That's really all they care about, and it's very uninteresting. It's very Machiavellian. It's inauthentic, and it can be quite boring. So yeah, to kind of conclude that, I would say that women make bad life partners for many reasons, and probably the one of the biggest reasons is that I think that women, where men like to find an attractive woman and have sex with her, and then leave if it doesn't suit him. The female version of that is women like to find men that are out of their league, get them to fall in love, and then sabotage the relationship deliberately so that they feel in control and empowered and they get sadistic pleasure from it. Women will oscillate between being completely obsessed with you, not giving you any space, and then when you just kind of start to ignore them a little bit because they're so overbearing, they will then get such a big narcissistic injury from that they'll sabotage the whole relationship. So they'll just be obsessed non-stop, to the point where it's like, hey, I just need to be myself for a day and not talk to this person constantly. And then after you pull back, they generally just take that as like the biggest slight and pull back way harder. Because they assume that all things like that is just manipulation because they frame everything in manipulation, so they can't empathize with a man's perspective and be like, hey, I just need to give this dude some space so he can work on his hobbies or exercise or just breathe. and so and then the paradox is that if you don't have that breather and pull back, they'll just think you're a needy little bitch anyway and sabotage it. So life partner, not an applicable role for modern women because of the way that they've been raised and the way that they see men. So another double-edged sword that men face when looking for a female sexual partner is the dichotomy of disloyal slurries versus loyal frigids. So men really enjoy bedroom fun. It makes us happy. Women enjoy it too. Well, not all of them. The slurries enjoy it. And so men are faced with this constant dichotomy of, well, do I want a woman that enjoys having lots of bedroom fun and is good at it? and actually does stuff other than starfish missionary in the dark with the lights off. And the trade-off is that when you find women that are good in bed, that enjoy bedroom fun as much as a dude, they're usually the biggest slurries. Like, and so it's like, well, if you find a woman that's loyal and dedicated to you, she's probably got a reasonably low body count. And one of the reasons that women have low body counts, unfortunately, is because they kind of have a resentment attitude towards sex. They see it as them giving the man something. They see it as like their bargaining chip. They're probably way more hypergamous than the slurries, even though they're more loyal. They're only as loyal as you are simping. And then the paradox is if you start to simp too hard, they won't find you attractive anymore and they'll cheat on you with another dude anyway, even if they are relatively loyal. So men are faced with that dichotomy. Do you want a slurry that's good in bed, or do you want a loyal woman who is a stale starfish that enjoys only missionary with the lights off once a month? Another paradox facing particularly white men is, do you want to continue the white race and have white kids? Because every Western white country is being strategically castrated by ideological cancers of wokeism, where white people's birth rates is just plummeting deliberately. It's all social engineering. And this is obviously because the attitude that white women have been raised to have towards men is one of complete societal masochism. Like, white women have been raised to resent white men, to try and destroy us at every level, socially, financially, morally, digitally. They push for us to be banned for talking online about the stuff that I'm talking about now. Obviously, some exceptions. And dudes are like, white dudes are looking at it like, hey, like, why should I be in a partnership, in a relationship with a woman that has been indoctrinated for decades to revel in my own destruction? It's they have bought the social programming from their Netflix series, from the schools, from social media. And I can honestly say that as a white dude, the most racism I've ever faced from anyone would be from white women. I do see there is a small percentage of white women who are very loyal and against all of the wokeism as well. But yeah, in general, white dudes are put in this position where it's like, well, do we want to continue the white race, or do we want to just say screw it? Like, we'll give in to Shlomo and we'll have mixed babies, which is, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think there's some value in maintaining white people. We're pretty damn awesome. And so then you're faced with, well, do you date interracially? On the surface, dating interracially can be really appealing because, other cultures have a lot more traditional gender roles. On the surface, at least, what you'll find is that they're just more covert with their disdain and hatred towards white men, because a lot of them think that any successful white man that they might be attracted to has just been given that position to him, because of his little white privilege card. So there'll still be that resentment and hatred because of the social programming. Women are just ridiculously susceptible to manipulation from men in positions of authority, whether it's their partner or whether it's the government and media. It's almost like they just submit to whatever the dominant authorities at the time without question, because they know it serves their immediate short-term interests. And so, yeah, you'll find a lot of dudes just traveling overseas to date interracially. I don't think that will last, because I think this toxic culture is digital. It's in the digital realm, and there's certain countries that might just be a decade or so behind the Western countries in terms of the social decay that we are witnessing. So that last point about white women versus interracial dating should have probably been in the next segment of the cultural landscape dichotomies. But I'll just leave it here now because I've already done it. It also kind of ties into whether men want fun and freedom versus enduring the burden of a family. So obviously, those things are in direct contrast to each other. If you have a family, you have a financial burden, you have a locality commitment, and also an emotional one as well. So if you're a man and you want to have fun and freedom, you're basically going to be in a situation where women will be expecting you to simp harder than you're willing to simp. Because if you don't want a family, why would you simp at all? Women are supposed to be strong and independent. In today's society, because women and our overlords that we're not allowed to talk about have pushed for DEI quotas and everything, it's basically impossible for men to become high earners through the traditional 9-to-5 route, because any excessive effort that you put in, any overtime, any extra efficiencies, if you're a white dude and you're overperforming, you're probably still not going to get a very big raise, because if you get a big raise due to your performance, from a legal perspective, they'll just see it as a white man getting paid more than the women or something like that. So it's actually a liability for companies to give white men raises now for their performance. So even if you do want a family and are willing to go through with it, traditionally men that have families would be respected, that have authority in the household, they'd have laws protecting them. But the way it's set up is that basically as soon as you sign that financial contract of marriage, the humiliation ritual, and have some kids, you are basically submitting to the woman legally. And women don't find men that submit attractive, so they'll actually find it really gross and ick that you have done that to yourself, because it's disrespecting yourself. It shows a lack of assertiveness to get married and have kids for the vast majority of people in this society. And women actually find it repulsive, which is why the divorce rate is so high. It's kind of funny. That being said, if you were maybe you find a financial partner, a woman that's a financial partner, but I don't know what it is with all of the strong, independent women that we hear about. I'm yet to meet an attractive woman that has her own place, that isn't a divorcee or a single mom. The only way it seems that attractive women can have their own place is if they've gotten it through a man. And I don't want some other dude's sloppy seconds. I've done that before, and they don't even respect you because you lower your standards for them. So there's no point in lowering your standards for women like that either. But yeah, you'll be finding yourself in this situation where you can't have a family because you just simply can't afford it. And all of the strong and independent, women, they don't actually exist. Imagine if there was an attractive woman with her own place willing to split bills with you. Dude, she would be so sought after that, only the highest echelons of actors, celebrities, and football players would be able to even get her, get their turn with her, I'll say, because they'll probably divorce those dudes as well. So I'll wrap it up there. Basically, everything in modern dating is a contradiction. I'll get to the next couple of topics in future videos, perhaps. I need to talk about how these dichotomies affect the cultural landscape and also how they affect women's ever-changing bipolar standards. If this video doesn't get many views, maybe I won't even bother. So maybe share it if you liked it. See ya.